Hi, Prof. It's Aldrin here again. Can you still hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Good
Okay,
morning.
perfect. Thank you so much. We'll be with you shortly.
Okay.
Welcome back. So Turkey has made an official request to join South Africa in a case alleging genocidal intent against Israel at the International Court of Justice. This legal action is centered around the accusations that Israel's actions, particularly in its conflict with Palestinians, amount to genocide. By joining South Africa in this case, Turkey aims to bolster international pressure on Israel and highlight its concerns regarding human rights and international law violations. The case underscores ongoing geopolitical tensions and the differing international perspectives on the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. For more on this, let's speak to Professor Chris Isike, who is with the University of Pretoria's African Politics and International Relations. Prof, a very good morning to you. Thank you so much for making time for us. Outside of Turkey joining this case being seen as symbolic, does it really put on the pressure that is required to see a change in stance around how the U.S., for instance, is the U.S. relationship with Israel in relation to this war? Because some people are saying that if there's any power that can change what's happening in Palestine, it is the U.S.
Well, yes, it does in many ways. Remember, Turkey is a member of NATO, and there are a lot of options that beyond the symbolism of joining South Africa's case in the ICJ. Turkey could use its position to, veto all kinds of decisions that favor, Israel in the European Union and NATO generally that tend to support them. They've kind of blocked this, in smaller ways before now, but with this kind of action, especially if there's a counter response from Israel, that hurts Turkish interest, they may go full out to, place a full moratorium, to prevent any kind of NATO decision to pass in favor of Israel. And let's also not forget that, in 2010, there was a conflict between Turkey and Israel that led to, suspension of diplomatic ties between these countries. And it took the United States almost 15 years to restore, actually 12 years, because this was restored in 2022 from 2010, when there was a kind of diplomatic stalemate between Turkey and Israel. So that relationship only just mended in 2022, and the United States was instrumental to that mending. And if things go out of hand now between Turkey and Israel, the United States will have to be forced back in to try and bring the two together. So in many ways, these countries are connected, and the United States, like you said earlier on, plays a very critical role in ensuring that things don't go south.
Yeah, and now as it stands also is you just heard the decision that was taken in the US to make more money available for armaments for Israel. And in the same breath as well, you have the United States calling for a ceasefire negotiation. How should we understand that? And on the basis of where they're currently at, what role can Israel play, or rather, what role can Turkey play as Egypt as well as Qatar are calling for talks?
Well, yeah, you're right. There is a contradiction there in calling for ceasefire while you continue to militarily support what Israel does in Palestine. So that's something that the United States will have to, come to terms with in terms of what they're really about in the region. But Turkey is important, in all of this because of its position. It is also a regional power balancer in that region, and instrumental, to keeping the peace, in Israel. I mean, in the region. You recall also that Turkey has had a friendship with Hamas, a recognition of Hamas that's lasted over 20 years. And many have said that the killing of Haniyeh by Israel is what broke the camel's back in this case, that has led to the first punitive step of joining South Africa's International Court of Justice case against Israel. So if the United States wants to ensure that there is peace in the Middle East, it needs to stand with countries like Turkey, that was one of the first Muslim majority countries to recognize Israel in 1949. But then later on also recognize the Palestinian Authority as an independent state. It means, therefore, that its focus aligns with that of the U.S. in terms of recognizing two-state solution as the pathway out. And countries like Turkey that has expressed an interest in seeing to peaceful resolution and then rebuilding the Palestine after the war, are going to be very critical in ensuring that peace ensues and all goes well between important countries and allies like Israel and Turkey.
Yeah, and with this said, of course, with the test around genocidal intent is the evidence that needs to be brought to the fore. And considering the history of Turkey in relation to Israel as well as Hamas, do you believe that Turkey would be able to bring more evidence that will point to genocidal intent or genocide actions?
Well, to be honest, the evidence is there. The evidence is clear. Joining South Africa in this case is important. It's symbolic, but at the same time, it's important, like I said, because of it's going to be the first, one of the first NATO countries to join South Africa. That's important, but also the symbolic effect of the Israel losing its soft power appeal and goodwill from countries like Turkey that have traditionally been allies with them and recognize Israel and its right to exist as an independent state. It is not a matter of using their relationship with Israel and Palestine, and Hamas to present evidence. The evidence are clear, but it is more the point of communicating to the world that somebody has to rein Israel in at some point, no matter how good or bad the relationship may have been between them. So I think that's for them a much more important factor.
Just finally, Prof, considering that there have been numerous orders, interim orders that have come out of the ICJ, Israel has been accused of violating some of those orders. Next month will mark a year since the war started. But now, specifically speaking about the invasion, which happened, of course, last year, will there be any end in sight if there is to be another order that comes from the ICJ and Israel doesn't abide by the order?
Well, it's difficult. Israel has clearly shown that it's not going to respect whatever the International Criminal Court of Justice decides. And it is enabled in many ways by inaction on the part of powerful states like the United States. Until we begin to see some kind of pressure on the US to actually force the Israelis to a line of peace, we may not see it, especially with the Prime Minister hell-bent on taking counter-peace actions like the assassination of the Palestinian political leader, who was very instrumental to those ceasefire talks, by the way. It signals that Israel may not really be interested in peace, despite the pressures for peace that the Israeli government gets from its citizens at home and abroad. So I think that the answer really lies more with Israel and the United States, and we hope that there will be more countries, like Turkey, joining the suit to prevent or to force some kind of reckoning and recognition that there's a limit to all of this madness, if I may say.
Yeah.